Welcome back to Grandma's Sunday Dinner Table, family. We're 8 weeks into this journey now, and if you've been riding with us from the beginning, we've shared stories about mischief and punishment, secrets and laughter, mistakes and grace. But this week, we're going to talk about something different, something deeper. This is about the wisdom Grandma shared with us during those Sunday dinners, the advice she gave us while we were eating her greens and cornbread, the life lessons she dropped so casually that we didn't even realize we were being taught until years later when we faced the exact situations she'd prepared us for. If you grew up eating at your grandmother's table, you know that the food was just the vehicle for the real nourishment, the wisdom, the truth, the hard-earned knowledge she was passing down to the next generation. Some of her advice didn't make sense to us when we were young. Some of it seemed old-fashioned or out of touch. Some of it we rolled our eyes at because we thought we knew better. But now that we're grown, now that we've lived through some things, now that we've made our own mistakes and learned our own lessons, we understand. We finally get what Grandma was trying to tell us over those plates of greens and cornbread. This is about the advice we wish we'd listened to sooner, the wisdom we're now passing down to our own children, and the conversations around that table that shaped who we became. Let me start with one of Grandma's most frequent pieces of advice, one she gave us so often it became almost a mantra in our family. Not everybody who smiles in your face is your friend. She'd say this while passing the bowl of greens, casual as anything, like she was commenting on the weather. But there was always weight behind it, always a story that had prompted her to share this particular piece of wisdom at that particular moment. "Y'all are young," she'd say, looking around at us grandchildren sitting at that table. "You think everybody who's nice to you likes you. You think everybody who laughs at your jokes wants the best for you. But that's not how the world works. And the sooner you learn that, the better off you'll be." When we were kids and teenagers, we didn't really understand what she meant were our friends. The people who were nice to us were nice people. Why would someone pretend to like us if they didn't? "People smile in your face for all kinds of reasons," Grandma would continue, serving herself some cornbread. "Some people smile because they genuinely like you and want good things for you. But some people smile because they want something from you. Some smile because they're keeping you close so they can watch you and report back to people who don't like you. Some smile because they're competing with you and want to see you fail. And some smile just because that's what they do with everybody, but they don't actually care about you one way or another." She'd pause to let that sink in. So you have to learn to tell the difference. You have to watch what people do, not just listen to what they say. Do they celebrate your successes or do they find ways to diminish them? Do they support you when things are hard or do they disappear? Do they keep your secrets or do you hear your business being repeated around town? Do they build you up or tear you down? Those are the questions you ask to figure out who your real friends are. At the time, this advice seemed paranoid to us. It seemed like Grandma was telling us not to trust anybody, to assume everyone had bad intentions. But now that we've been betrayed by people we thought were friends, now that we've been gossiped about by people who smiled in our faces, now that we've learned the hard way that some people only stick around when things are good but disappear when things get tough, now we understand exactly what Grandma meant. She wasn't telling us to be paranoid or to refuse to trust anyone. She was telling us to be discerning, to pay attention, to protect ourselves by watching people's actions over time instead of just believing their words in the moment. She was teaching us emotional intelligence and self-protection. skills that have saved many of us from toxic friendships and relationships that could have done serious damage. And when you do find real friends, Grandma would add, people who genuinely love you and want the best for you, you hold on to them, you appreciate them, you show up for them the same way they show up for you, because real friendship is rare and precious, and you don't take it for granted. That was always the other side of Grandma's advice. She'd give you the hard truth about people's capacity for deception, but then she'd remind you about the beauty of genuine connection when you find it. Another piece of advice Grandma gave us frequently, usually directed at the girls but applicable to everyone. A man who really wants to be with you will make a way. If he's not making time for you, if he's not making an effort, he's not that interested. Stop making excuses for him. This advice usually came up when one of us teenage granddaughters was complaining about a boy who was treating us poorly, not calling when he said he would, making plans and canceling them, being inconsistent and unreliable. We'd make excuses for him. He's busy. He has a lot going on. He's not good at communicating. He really does like me. He just doesn't know how to show it. Grandma would listen to all our excuses, nodding along, and then she'd say very calmly, "Baby, if that boy wanted to be with you, he'd be with you. Men aren't complicated. When they want something, they go after it. If he wanted to call you, he'd call you. If he wanted to see you, he'd make time to see you. If he wanted you to be his girlfriend, he'd ask you to be his girlfriend. The fact that he's not doing these things tells you everything you need to know." We'd protest. Maybe he's scared of rejection. Maybe he doesn't know how I feel. Maybe I need to give him more time. "Listen to me," Grandma would say, putting down her fork and looking us dead in the eye. "You are too valuable to chase after somebody who's running away from you. You're too special to beg somebody to treat you right. If a man doesn't recognize your worth, that's his problem, not yours. You move on and you find somebody who does recognize it." At 17 years old, we thought Grandma just didn't understand modern dating, didn't understand how complicated relationships were, didn't get that sometimes you had to work for love. But now, after wasting time on men who weren't that interested, after making excuses for men who didn't deserve them, after finally finding partners who showed up consistently and made their intentions clear, now we understand that Grandma was trying to save us from heartbreak and wasted time. She was teaching us self-respect, teaching us not to settle, teaching us that we deserve people who were enthusiastic about being with us rather than people we had to convince to want us. And she was teaching us to value action over words, to judge people by what they do rather than what they say, to stop making excuses for people's poor behavior. And this goes for friendships too, Grandma would add, for family relationships, for work relationships, for any relationship in your life. If people want to be in your life, they'll act like it. If they're not acting like it, believe them and adjust accordingly. Don't chase people who are walking away from you. Another piece of Grandma's wisdom that we didn't appreciate at the time: save your money, even if it's just a little bit. Even if it's just $5 a week, put something away that you don't touch. Grandma would say this while clearing plates from the table. Casual advice dropped in between, "Who wants dessert?" and "Y'all help me clean this kitchen." "I don't care how little you make," she'd say. "I don't care how many bills you have. You find a way to save something, because life is going to throw things at you. And when it does, you need to have something set aside so you don't have to beg or borrow or go into debt." When we were teenagers working part-time jobs, we thought this advice was unrealistic. We'd make $50 and want to spend all $50. We'd think, what's $5 going to do? That's not enough to save. But Grandma would insist, it's not about the amount, it's about the habit. You're training yourself to live on less than you make, to see saving as non-negotiable, like paying rent or buying food. You do that when you're young and you don't have real responsibilities. It becomes automatic. Then when you're older and making real money, you're already in the habit of saving and your money starts to grow. We'd nod and say, yes, ma'am, but we didn't really do it. We spent our money on clothes and music and going out with friends. But now that we've faced unexpected car repairs and medical bills and job losses and all the financial emergencies that come with being an adult, now we understand why Grandma was so insistent about saving. Now we're the ones telling our own children to save their money, to build an emergency fund, to live below their means so they have cushion when life happens. Grandma lived through the Depression. She knew what it was like to have nothing, to struggle to feed her family, to worry about keeping a roof over their heads, and she was determined that her children and grandchildren would never be in that position if she could help it. So she preached saving and financial discipline even when we didn't want to hear it, planting seeds that would bear fruit decades later when we finally understood. Another thing Grandma would say, often on the heels of the saving money advice, don't tell everybody your business. Some things are meant to be private. When you broadcast all your plans and your dreams and your problems, you're inviting people to speak on things that don't concern them. Keep some things to yourself. This advice was hard for us to understand in the age before social media, and it would have blown Grandma's mind to see how much people share online now. But even back then, she noticed that we young people had a tendency to overshare, to tell our friends every detail of our lives, to make our personal business public. When you tell people what you're planning to do before you do it, you give them the opportunity to discourage you or to sabotage you or to steal your idea, Grandma said. When you tell people about good things that happen to you, you invite jealousy and the evil eye. When you tell people about your problems, you give them information they can use against you or gossip about. We thought this was old-fashioned superstition. We thought Grandma was being overly cautious, maybe even paranoid. But now we understand that she was teaching us about boundaries, about protecting our peace, about being selective with who we let into our inner circle. She was teaching us that not everyone deserves access to our lives, that privacy is a form of protection, that some blessings are meant to be enjoyed quietly without broadcast. In the age of social media, where people share every meal, every thought, every moment of their lives, Grandma's advice about keeping some things private feels more relevant than ever. Those of us who learned this lesson have watched people overshare online and face consequences. Employers finding inappropriate posts, friends getting jealous over posted success, private conflicts becoming public drama. We've learned that Grandma was right. Some things are meant to be kept between you and God, you and your spouse, you and your closest trusted confidants. Not everything needs to be announced or explained or justified to the world. Here's another thing you need to know, Grandma would say. Usually when one of us was complaining about someone who'd wronged us. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for them to show you again and again. Don't make excuses. Don't hope they'll change. Just believe them and act accordingly. This advice, which we later learned Grandma had gotten from Maya Angelou, was gold, but we were too young to appreciate it. We'd tell Grandma about friends who betrayed us, boyfriends who lied to us, people who let us down, and we'd always have the same refrain, but I thought they would change, or I thought this time would be different, or I gave them another chance. And Grandma would shake her head and say, baby, when someone shows you they're a liar, they're a liar. When someone shows you they're selfish, they're selfish. When someone shows you they can't be trusted, they can't be trusted. Believing that they'll change despite all evidence to the contrary is not hope, it's foolishness. But people can change, we'd protest. Sure they can, Grandma would agree. But they change when they want to change, when they're ready to change, when they do the work to change. They don't change because you hope they will or because you give them unlimited chances to hurt you. So when someone shows you who they are through their consistent actions, you believe them. And you decide whether that's someone you want in your life or not. Now, after giving too many chances to people who didn't deserve them, after hoping people would change who had no intention of changing, after ignoring red flags because we wanted to believe the best in people, now we understand this advice deeply. We've learned that people tell you who they are through their patterns of behavior. Can do for yourself is to believe them and make decisions accordingly. We've learned that you can't love someone into changing, can't hope them into being different, can't ignore their consistent negative behavior and expect positive results. And we're teaching our own children, pay attention to patterns, not promises. Believe behavior, not words. When someone shows you who they are repeatedly, believe them and protect yourself accordingly. One more piece of wisdom that Grandma shared often, especially with the young women in the family. You can't raise a man if he's not already raised. When you meet him, move on. You're looking for a partner, not a project. This usually came up when one of us was dating someone who had potential. A guy who was nice but irresponsible, or smart but lazy, or charming but inconsistent. We talk about how good he could be if he just did this or that, if he just applied himself, if he just grew up a little. And Grandma would cut through all of it. Baby, you're not his mother. You're not his life coach. You're not a rehabilitation center. You're a woman looking for a partner. And a partner is someone who already has their life together, who already knows how to be a responsible adult, who already treats you right without you having to train them how to do it. But I love him, we'd say, and I can see how good he could be. You love who you hope he'll become, Grandma would correct. You don't love who he actually is right now. And that's a problem, because the person you're with right now is the person you're getting. The potential you see, that's just your imagination. That's you writing a story in your head about who he could be. But meanwhile, you're dealing with who he actually is. And who he actually is isn't good enough. She'd soften her tone here. I'm not saying people can't grow. I'm not saying relationships don't involve some compromise and some growth together. But there's a difference between a man who's already a good man and just needs to learn your specific preferences and a man who hasn't even learned how to be a functioning adult yet. The first one is worth investing in. The second one is going to drain you dry while you try to raise him, and chances are once you do all that work, he'll leave you for somebody else. We thought Grandma was being too harsh, too judgmental, not romantic enough. But now, after wasting years trying to change men who didn't want to be changed, after exhausting ourselves playing therapist and mother and life coach to grown men who should have already known better, now we understand that Grandma was trying to save us from burnout and heartbreak. She was teaching us to have standards, to refuse to settle for potential instead of reality, to value ourselves enough to walk away from relationships that required us to do all the emotional labor and personal development work for someone else. And she was teaching us that the right partner is someone who comes to you already knowing how to be a good partner, already emotionally mature, already respectful and responsible, so that you can grow together instead of you dragging them forward. One more thing before we get to dessert, Grandma would often say, looking around the table at all of us. Take care of your health while you're young. Your body is the only one you get. You can't replace it. You can't trade it in. You have to live in it for your whole life, so treat it well. This advice seemed irrelevant when we were young and healthy and thought we were invincible. We'd eat junk food, stay up all night, skip exercise, ignore our body's signals that something was wrong. Grandma would shake her head. Y'all think you're going to be young forever. You think your body will just keep working no matter how you treat it. But I'm here to tell you, those habits you're building now, they're going to follow you. That junk food you're eating, it's setting up problems for later. That exercise you're not doing, your future self is going to pay for that. Those checkups you're skipping, you're going to regret that. You're only as old as you feel, Grandma, we'd say, thinking we were being clever. And when you're 50 and your knees hurt and your back hurts and you've got diabetes and high blood pressure and all the other things that come from not taking care of yourself, you're going to feel real fast, she'd respond. I'm trying to help you avoid that. Eat your vegetables, drink your water, move your body. Go to the doctor when something's wrong. Sleep enough. Don't smoke. Don't drink too much. Take care of the body God gave you. At 20, this advice rolled right off us. At 30, we started to understand a little. At 40 and beyond, we finally got it completely. We got it when our bodies started hurting from years of poor posture. We got it when we developed health conditions that could have been prevented with better habits. We got it when we watched friends our age dealing with serious health issues that stem from years of neglect. And now we're the ones telling our children what Grandma told us. Your body is the only one you get, so treat it well from the beginning. Build good habits now while you're young and healthy. Don't wait until something goes wrong to start taking care of yourself. Looking back on all the advice Grandma gave us over those Sunday dinners, what strikes me most is how much wisdom was packed into casual conversation. She wasn't sitting us down for formal lectures. She wasn't making us memorize principles. She was just talking while we ate, dropping truth bombs between bites of greens and cornbread, planting seeds that would take years to germinate but would eventually grow into the foundation of how we live our lives. And the beautiful thing is, we're doing the same thing now with our own children and grandchildren. We're sitting around our own dinner tables, passing down the same wisdom Grandma gave us, adding our own hard-earned lessons to the mix, continuing the tradition of using meals as opportunities to teach and guide and prepare the next generation for what's coming. Some of them are listening, some of them are rolling their eyes the same way we did, thinking we don't understand, thinking times have changed, thinking they know better. And that's okay, because we know, just like Grandma knew, that the wisdom will stick eventually. That when they face the situations we warned them about, they'll remember what we said over dinner. They'll think, oh, that's what Mom meant, or now I understand what Grandma was talking about. And the cycle will continue. Wisdom passed down over meals, truth served alongside food, the dinner table serving as classroom and pulpit and throne all at once, with the elders holding court and the young people learning lessons they don't yet know they need. What advice did your grandmother give you that you didn't understand until you were grown? What wisdom from the elders in your family do you finally appreciate now? What are you passing down to your own children that you learned at your grandmother's table? Share in the comments below. We want to hear the wisdom that shaped you. And make sure you subscribe, because we have more stories coming from Grandma's table. Next week, we're sharing another piece of Sunday dinner wisdom. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next Sunday at Grandma's table.